When networks banned the General Lee, John Schneider lost more than just a TV show. The deals for the goods went away overnight. He stopped getting his royalty checks. One person's $200,000 automobile was ruined. That wasn't even the worst part, though. He had to sell a signed General Lee hood for $25,000 to pay his expenses. After that, Amazon said it might take the show off the air completely. Schneider started a petition that got 50,000 people to sign it. But the real battle was just starting. Half of the country disagreed with what he stated regarding free speech and hate symbols. John Richard Schneider was born on April 8, 1960, in Mount Kiscoco, New York, which is a little hamlet about 45 miles north of Manhattan. His parents, Shirley and Jack Schneider, worked for the government and were quite involved in his daily life. He wasn't merely watching the world when he was a kid. He was trying to act in it. He acquired a modest magic kit for $5 from a hobby store when he was 5 years old and started doing shows in his backyard for his neighbors. It was little and constructed by hand, yet it made him feel something. He liked it when people looked at him, waiting for the next trick and then doing something when it worked. That small scarf illusion kit was his initial stage, and he kept going from there. He went to a real theater for the first time when he was 8, in 1968. In a community theatrical production of The Wizard of Oz in New York City, he played a munchkin. He practiced for about 20 hours a week after school and got paid $10 for each performance. The money wasn't the most important thing. He liked the rhythm of practicing, waiting in the wings, hearing applause, and feeling like he was part of something broader than his small neighborhood. Then life changed in a way he couldn't change. John's parents got a divorce when he was 10. He felt alone in the house that had always felt stable. He began to find consolation in things that couldn't leave him, and TV became one of those things. He was really into westerns, notably Bonanza, which was running from 1959 to 1973. He quietly sat in front of the screen every week. He would use a toy revolver to recreate the gunfights in his bedroom and pretend to be a cowboy hero. Those stories provided him a place to hide and a future to look forward to. The familial themes, the adventure, and the free atmosphere of the West all slowly changed what he aspired to be. Another huge alteration came in 1974, when he was 14. His mother got married again and moved the whole family to Atlanta, Georgia. A boy from New York who moved to the South would have felt adrift. John, on the other hand, found a door that was already open for him. He quickly joined the theatrical club at North Springs High School. Theater helped him connect who he was with where he is now. He played Danny Zuko in the school's Grease play to fit in and make the part seem authentic. He practiced Southern dialects and learned how to fit in with a new society without losing himself. That mix of acting and changing things around began to make him sharper. He wasn't just memorizing lines anymore. He was learning how to change into someone else on command. By the time he was 15, he was working hard to get what he wanted with the kind of intensity that only a teenager who really wants something can have. He rode his bike to deliver newspapers to make money for acting classes at a neighborhood theater. He didn't see those classes as a hobby. He pushed for real roles and got the lead role in Our Town. In 1975, he earned the Georgia District Youth Award for Finest Dramatic Performance for his efforts there. He felt like he had proof when he got the prize. It told him that this was not merely a fantasy he liked. It was something he could chase and maybe get. He also got into music when he was 16. He made his first demo tape in a garage studio in Atlanta using a guitar he borrowed. He sung country versions of Hank Williams songs like Hey, Good Looking and Lovesick Blues. Then he took those tapes to radio stations, hoping someone would agree. Instead, he was turned down 12 times. People said he was too young or that he wasn't famous enough. None of that stopped him. He kept showing up until WQXI, a local station, eventually ran a clip. It was a small moment, but it felt big to him. Even a little bit of light made a difference after all those closed doors. He discovered that if the goal felt real enough, you could keep going even if you got hit with music. He grew even bigger in 1977, when he was 17. He drove a beat-up Ford from Atlanta to Los Angeles for pilot season, sleeping on friends' couches and making his money last by eating cheap diner food. He was looking for any method to get into the industry. That push got him an uncredited appearance as a truck stop customer in Smokeyaki and the Bandit. He worked for around 12 hours and made $50. The money wasn't much, but to him, it felt like the first real payment from the world he craved. Being around genuine sets and actors gave him a taste of how crazy and dangerous the job might be. And it also showed him that he could reach it. He kept juggling school and performing in Georgia like his life depended on it. He took voice lessons, played at local events, and even made up an odd but enjoyable act where he sang and did magic tricks at the same time. He would sing a country song and pull a rabbit out of a top hat at county fairs, making crowds of about 200 people laugh and clap. The shows weren't just a trick. They taught him how to keep people's attention, how to sense the timing, and how not to freeze when people are watching. By the time he finished in 1978, he had a little agency in Atlanta who started bringing him jobs. He did 3 TV advertisements, one for Coca-Cola and one for Georgia Peaches. He made $900 overall because each one paid him $300. He learned how to imitate a southern drawl on command, changing his voice to fit what others wanted. Every shot made him shift swiftly, and occasionally the script had to be changed at the last minute. That taught him a skill that was useful in the workplace. How to keep cool, follow directions, and get the job done. All of that was leading up to the moment that altered everything. When he was 18 years old in early 1979, he noticed an ad for a new show that needed a 25-year-old Georgian redneck. On paper, John wasn't that. He was younger and lived in New York. He chose to perform the biggest role of his life, music, before he even got the job. He had stubble, a country hat, chewing tobacco, and a beer can when he came up for the audition. He acted like he had lived in the South his whole life. He spoke with a strong accent and told crazy anecdotes about life in the country that made him sound just like what they desired. He did so well that he beat out over 300 other people who wanted the part of Bo Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard. He also said he had studied at the Georgia School of High Performance Driving, which did not exist, to make the picture more believable. He sounded like a guy who had driven hard all his life when the audition moved to automotive, music, skill. He slid on a faux car hood during the tryout in a way that felt natural to him. That move became the legendary Duke slide, which was done again and over again on the show. A falsehood had become a signature, and a fast thought had become history. He signed his first big deal for the series on March 15, 1979. It was worth $5,000 each episode. He still had the mystery of his age and his past, and he knew that if anyone looked hard enough, it could all fall apart. But the risk paid off, and the show went on. He got immediately to work when production began in California in April 1979. He had to jump over a fence in jeans in his first scene, and he hurt his ankle as he landed. He pushed through it and finished the sequence, earning admiration on set for how hard he was ready to work. John Schneider was only 19 when he drove the General Lee for the first season of The Dukes of Hazzard in 1979. The team quickly saw that he was different from the other actors. Most actors were careful when doing stunts. Schneider saw them as a challenge. In the third episode, Days of Shine, he used a real 1969 Dodge Charger to assist weld the roll cage and then sent it flying off a 15-foot ramp over a pond. He had never learned how to drive a stunt car. He merely held on to the wheel and went with his gut. The car hit the ground so hard that the chassis twisted, and the crew knew they would need more cars than they had intended. Some episodes used up as many as 14 Chargers since leaps broke practically all of them. The famed jump reached 16 feet high during the opening titles, and the car traveled 82 feet before it crashed. Schneider didn't do every crazy leap, but the ones he did gave Bo Duke a raw intensity that made him feel real. To him, the General Lee was more than just an automobile. Offset. He got his own orange Charger and named it Little Bo Peep. He pushed it up to 140 miles per hour on empty back roads just to see how the car handled so he could tell the show about it. He fixed up another Charger with a 426 Hemi engine and kept it like a prize. At one point, someone at the auction offered approximately $10 million for it, but it was just a joke, and the automobile stayed with him. A tree fell on that same car years later during Hurricane Ida. He felt like he had lost a part of himself when he lost it. He had welded roll cages, fixed dents, and spent many nights working with these equipment. That link made every scenario come to life. When the cameras stopped rolling, Schneider and Tom Wopat kept the beat running. They made a small country band called the Duke Boys Band during breaks. They played at cast parties, clubs, and charity events, passing a guitar back and forth like brothers. They wrote a song together called Hazzard Highway in 1980, during a break in Georgia. It never officially got out, but they kept it and sang it during reunions for years. Fans loved seeing them on stage singing Good Old Boys and laughing like they were back in Hazzard County. Their music kept their friendships going long after the scenes were over. Not every moment on set was fun. During the filming of episode 45 in 1981, a fan got past security one night while brandishing something that looked like a pistol. Schneider ran up to him and tackled him right into a hay bale without thinking. The police raced in and apprehended the man, but everyone was shocked at how quickly Schneider moved. He later joked that it was Bo Duke justice, but the threat was real. At the time, no one knew that the gun was fake. It became one of the most disturbing stories from behind the scenes and a reminder of how odd and dangerous fame may be. The show had been really popular by the end of season 3. Fan mail went surged by 500%, and Schneider started getting more than 2,000 letters a week. Some fans begged him to draw pictures of the General Lee, and he did his best to answer as many as he could. When CBS saw how popular the show was, they raised his pay to $10,000 per episode. The notoriety also helped him a year later when he and Tom Wopat got into a spat with the studio over money from Goods. But before that storm hit, the show handed him an unexpected shot in music. Schneider spent hard days filming and long evenings thinking about making music until 1981. He traveled directly to Nashville after shooting one weekend and checked into a little demo studio to record a song he had written called Ain't You Glad? For 10 hours straight, he played the guitar. He was tired, so his voice was scratchy, but something about the take seemed real. Producer Mike Kerb heard the demo by chance and was blown away by how tough Schneider's voice sounded. The next day, he made him an opportunity to work with Scott Brothers Records. Schneider put out Now or Never by the end of the year, and it quickly rose to number 8 on the country charts. It showed that he wasn't only a TV celebrity who liked to sing. He had something real. He signed with MCA Nashville 3 years later, in 1984. He wanted to prove himself to this big label. He helped make some of his album, Too Good to Stop Now, and pushed himself to record for 48 hours straight. He hardly slept. He sent his debut single, I'd Been Around Enough to Know, to radio stations all over the country when he was done with it. 15 stations answered no. He kept calling, mailing tapes, and exploring smaller areas until one station in Shreveport eventually gave him a chance. The song quickly rose to the top of the country charts and stayed there for 2 weeks. He had become a real crossover success with a foot in both worlds by the time the record sold 500,000 copies. Next came the tour. In 1985, he toured gigs all over the South, from Tennessee to Texas, and drew crowds of more than 5,000 people. But calamity occurred on the route to a big show. The vehicle carrying his band's gear overturned on the highway, ruining more than $20,000 worth of gear. The musicians got scared, but Schneider maintained calm. He called pals in the business and borrowed anything he could. He borrowed his prized Fender Telecaster from a country star. Schneider borrowed gear and walked on stage that night to provide one of his best shows. Fans later claimed that every note showed how determined the band was. In 1986, he took his next great move by putting out A Memory Like You. It went straight to number 1 on the country charts. He asked Johnny Cash to join him for a special show in Nashville. Cash played his famous guitar, and the two of them shared the stage with ease. After the show, they exchanged bespoke dusters as a symbol of respect. One had the General Lee logo on it, while the other had embroidered eagles on it. People still look for the limited vinyl that was made from the concert recording. His schedule was at its busiest in 1987. He made about $1 million that year by filming 30 episodes of Dukes of Hazzard and playing 50 gigs. He couldn't handle the stress anymore. His voice absolutely went up after 2 gigs in Atlanta and Nashville. The doctors told him to take a 2-month sabbatical. During that time, he went to Colorado to train from a famous yodeling tutor who helped him rebuild his voice from the ground up. When he came back, he sang with more control and assurance than before, and people could tell. The moment that revolutionized the history of television happened next. Schneider and Wood left the set in February 1982, shortly after Season 4, Episode 13. The General Lee toy alone sold 1 million copies, and neither actor was getting any of the money. Schneider had a heated 2-hour discussion with the producers and demanded a fair settlement. Catherine Bach discreetly backed them up, but she continued on the show. Warner Brothers responded by getting rid of the two and replaced them with 2 new cousins, Coy and Vance. Fans were quite angry. Within weeks, ratings decreased by approximately 20%, and critics said the new characters were just clones of old ones. CBS freaked out when advertisers protested. The network gave Schneider and Wood a 40% raise and 5% of the money made from item sales. Schneider watched all of this happen from Atlanta and wouldn't come back until the agreement was official. The fight cost him a lot of money. He had to sell his gold Dukes of Hazzard watch for $5,000 during the 3-month standoff to pay his bills. His first check for the royalties deal was $50,000. He went right back to the pawn store and got the watch. It showed how far he was willing to go to protect what he had worked for. When Schneider and Wood came back for the start of Season 5 in October 1982, the studio let Schneider change some of the screenplay. He wanted Bo Duke to give a speech on fighting for what is yours. The walkout gave me the idea for it. Fans enjoyed the modest message. The occasion raised the bar for actors who demanded fair contracts on other shows. Cheers was one of the first shows to do that. John Schneider felt the ground shake under his feet when the Dukes of Hazzard dissolved in February 1985. He was Bo Duke, a famous person with an orange Charger one day, and the next day he was standing there, waiting for the phone to ring. 2 years later, he got his big break when he played Ree in the 1987 TV movie Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. The set didn't have the same warm glow as Hazzard County. He was in Dawson City, Yukon, where the air was frozen and the snow was white. The temperature plunged to 20 below zero. He stuck to a strict music diet to make himself look worn out, and he lost 15 pounds while filming. The movie came out on December 20, 1987. He later remarked that the cold made him get deeper into a role than he had ever done before. By 1989, he was trying hard to get out from under Bo Duke's shadow. He was a detective in the miniseries Rawhide Trail, which only had 2 episodes before disappearing from the ratings. It was a stinging reminder that he was stuck in a Southern charm image that he couldn't get off. He tried out for almost 50 pilots over the next few years, notably MacGyver, but the job went to Richard Dean Anderson. He later remarked that every time he was turned down, it felt like he was stuck in the same outfit, even when he tried to change it. Then there was a moment that no one saw coming. John Schneider created John Schneider Studios with his own money in 1990 instead of waiting for Hollywood to decide what to do with him. Banks wouldn't give him $1 because they thought he looked too much like a hillbilly, so he put in $100,000 of his own money. He built a soundstage and post-production studios on his own land in Louisiana. It was brave. It was dangerous. It was a man who took his career out of Hollywood's hands and made it new on vast ground in the South. His passion brought him back to music in 1992. He made Come Morning in a modest home studio amid one of the darkest times of his life. Around this period, his marriage to Ellie Castle started to break apart, and the songs showed it. When the album hit number 15 on the Billboard country charts, it felt like a small accomplishment. Proof that he could still reach individuals who needed to hear him, even when things were bad. By 1995, music, he was behind the camera directing an episode of the Highway to Heaven remake. He hired members of his old Duke's crew to help him because he wanted people he knew to be around him. But the budget was blown by stunt wrecks, so he had to spend $20,000 out of his own pocket to keep the show going. He did get to see it in the end, but he learned that directing sometimes meant spending money to tell a tale. In 2001, everything changed when he entered into the audition room for Smallville. More than 100 people tried out for the role of Jonathan Kent. But when Schneider started to make up a fatherly speech right there on the farm set, everyone stopped talking. The producers hired him right away. That choice kept him on the show for 217 episodes over 10 seasons, making him one of the show's emotional cornerstones even as other members came and went. He got one of the most crucial responsibilities of his life by trusting his gut for one instant. He later directed 4 episodes of the program, and in the 3rd season episode Legacy, he included a part of Superman history that was based on true interviews with Jerry Siegel's family. It was a little change, but it made the plot deeper, and fans noticed. It seems if Schneider had taken the first days of Superman and softly wrapped it into modern TV. But things went wrong in 2005. In Season 5, the producers sought to assassinate Jonathan Kent. Schneider didn't like the idea. He fought back, argued, and even said he would leave. He finally agreed to stay, but only if the death was staged in a genuine cornfield in Kansas. The tribute episode was one of the most moving parts of the whole show. Fans understood it was important. They could feel how heavy he made it. He stopped playing heroes in 2006 and played a bad sheriff on CSI Miami. He was so good that he was nominated for an Emmy for Best Guest Actor in a Drama Series, which is nearly never the case for someone who only appeared in 2 episodes. People who believed they know him were astonished. He was no longer merely the nice dad or the charming Duke. He might also be hazardous. When Smallville concluded in 2011, he was worth about $4 million, which he had made over the years via consistent work and residual checks. But fans were shocked when he sold a signed General Lee hood for $25,000 to help pay for his Louisiana ranch. People were horrified when they got rid of such an important piece. It indicated that he cared more about real life than things from the past and that he was always ready to use the past to make the future better. Then a storm arrived that no fan fight could compare to. TV Land took Dukes of Hazzard reruns off the air in July 2015, after the Charleston church killing, because the General Lee had a Confederate flag on it. Warner Brothers stopped giving out licenses for all products related to the flag, which meant that sales of more than 300 episodes and a lot of model cars came to an end. Schneider was so mad that he went directly to Twitter. He stated they were rewriting history and that the play was about joy, family, and Southern heart. A lot of people saw his words. It turned into a national issue, and South Carolina's decision to take down the Confederate flag from its Capitol grounds that same month only made things worse. All at once, pop culture, politics, and pain came together. Schneider lost a lot of money when he lost his license, so he started a petition. Over 50,000 fans signed. He told Fox that the automobile was never a symbol of hate and that viewers have watched the show for decades without thinking it was racist. The problem became very personal for him, both personally and financially. The argument came back in June 2020, when there were protests all throughout the country after George Floyd was killed. Amazon thought about taking the show off its streaming. In interviews, Schneider shot back, saying that he had never heard a black fan protest and that taking the show off the air would just make things worse. NASCAR had just banned Confederate flags from its races, and the talk got quite heated. The whole 7-season series was in danger while the country fought over what symbols should symbolize. Hurricane Ida hit Louisiana in August 2021, a year later. One of Schneider's barns fell over and ruined a $200,000 General Lee. He put a picture of the crushed orange Charger on Facebook, with the flag still on its roof. He grinned through the loss and added, "She'll jump again." The storm hurt his house and studio too. It was a blow that hurt both his life and his legacy. By 2025, he was talking publicly about why the war over the General Lee was important to him. He argued it wasn't about supporting the Confederacy, it was about free expression. He said that the argument was a war on American history and that it was perilous to ban historic symbols. He highlighted to the long list of fans from all walks of life who enjoyed the show. It turned into a personal position for him, something he felt he had to safeguard more than money or memories. Schneider kept building even though there was a lot of fighting going on around him. He celebrated his 58th birthday on April 8, 2018, with a jump that looked like it came from his Duke days. He sent a real General Lee flying over a 75-foot ramp at his Louisiana studio, where it rose about 30 feet into the air while people shouted. It happened at Bose's big event, which brought together hundreds of fans. It was the kind of moment that made everyone remember why they loved Bo Duke in the first place. He acted in more than 500 sequences full of fire and emotion on The Haves and the Have-Nots from 2013 to 2021. Tyler Perry admired his raw passion and the way he could go from calm to angry in a single breath. Every time Jim Cryer had a tantrum or a fight, fans went crazy online. Schneider was able to hold his own in a group of powerful actors, and he could take over a scene without ever raising his voice. After 21 years of marriage, he divorced Alva Castle in 2014, and his personal life fell apart. The money problems drove him closer to becoming bankrupt. Court fights over alimony caused community service and anger in the public. But instead of going away, he made a YouTube channel. He shared song covers, updates from the studio, and stories about his life. The channel gained 16,000 subscribers in just a few days. It was his lifeline, proof that you can start over with whatever bits you have left, even when life burns things to the ground.